The Three Stooges were a slapstick comedy act that started in vaudeville during the 1920s and lasted for 50 years until 1970. During this run, the Stooges made over 150 short films. It all started with a comic named Ted Healy, who formed a comic vaudeville act called Ted Healy and his Stooges. The Stooges consisted of Moe Horowitz and his brother Shemp. They used Moe and Shemp Howard as their stage name. In 1928, Moe and Shemp met violinist and comedian Larry Fine, Louis Feinberg, while performing in Chicago. They persuaded Healy to accept Fine as one of the group.
This is Tammy. Normally I edit stuff out just about every time of our videos, but I decided to leave this in this time since it's the Three Stooges. This is how Daddy is all the time.
Healy would sing, tell jokes, and converse with the audience, while the Stooges would make noises and constantly annoy him and interrupt him. He would then respond by slapping, pulling hair, and generally physically hell. Healy would sing, tell jokes, and converse with the audience, while the Stooges would make noise and constantly annoy him and interrupt him. Healy would respond by slapping Healy would respond by slapping, pulling hair, and generally physically physically abusing the Stooges. The fans loved it. In 1930, all four Stooges, Ted Healy, Moe, Shemp, and Larry, appeared in Soup to Nuts for 20th Century Fox. Although the movie wasn't impressive, Fox offered the Stooges a contract without Healy. Healy retaliated by telling Fox the Stooges belonged to him, causing them to drop the offer. He became short-tempered and extremely hard to get along with, so much so that Shemp refused to continue working and left the group to go solo. With Shemp's spot left open, Moe recommended his younger brother, Jerome Lester Horowitz. Healy said that Jerome didn't look like a stooge. When Curly left the room and came back with his head shaved, he told him that he would not be Girly accepted anymore. Healy thought he said he wouldn't be Curly anymore. The name stuck. Curly quickly became the favorite of the fans. In 1934, Curly, Larry, and Moe left Healy for a contract with Columbia Pictures as the Three Stooges. Healy tried to revive the act with new actors, but the public would have no part of it. He began drinking heavy, but continued to have a successful career. On December 21st, 1937, at the age of 41, Healy, after celebrating at the Trocadero nightclub on Sunset Strip in Los Angeles, was severely beaten by three unidentified men. Moe Howard said that Healy was celebrating the birth of his son, John Jacob Nash, that he always loved kids and often gave Christmas parties to unfortunate youngsters and spent hundreds on toys. There are several accounts of what happened, everything from heart attack to infected liver. Healy's friends said the fight was with a well-known Hollywood actor, agent, and producer. He was literally beaten to death. Some say that the beating was covered up by MGM. No one was ever charged with Ted Healy's murder. From 1934 until 1946, Curly, Larry, and Moe will become a mainstay of the Stooges. Although Columbia Pictures was making money, the studio never let the Stooges know how popular they really were.
Remind me to kill you later.
I'll make a note of it. I ain't got a pencil.
Well, I changed my mind. I'm going to do it now.
They were paid around $20,000 each per year for over a 20-year period without a raise. Moe had quit school after 3 months in high school, and yet he was not only the leader of the Stooges in films, he made all business decisions for them. Moe had 3 older brothers, Isidore Irving Horowitz and Benjamin Jacob Horowitz. They were not in show business. Of course, Shemp Howard was one of the Stooges. Moe's younger brother was Jerome Curly Howard, later to become Curly. Their parents were Solomon Nathan and Jenny Goldsmith Horowitz. They were immigrants from Lithuania. Their dad, Solomon, was an extra in 1936's Disorder in Court. In 1939, the Stooges starred in Your Nazi Spy. Lamfumin Adolf Hitler, played by Moe. Larry was Joseph Goebbels, and Curly was Hermann Goering. When Hitler learned that the Stooges were Jewish, he put a hit list out for them, along with Winston Churchill and President Roosevelt. Moe married Helen Schoberger in 1925. They had 1 girl, Joan, and a son, Paul. Their marriage lasted for 50 years until his death. Moe's good friend and fellow Stooge, Larry Fine, whose birth name was Louis Feinberger. Fine's parents were Russian immigrants. His dad ran a jewelry store, and when Larry was 4, he burned his arm from acid in his father's store. In order to learn to use his hand again, his therapy was learning to play the violin, that he later used in his career. Larry met his wife Mabel Haney in 1922 when he was performing in vaudeville with the Haney sisters. They married in 1926 and had 2 kids, John and Phyllis. John lost his life in a car accident in 1961 at the age of 21. Fine often traveled to his personal appearances with his wife and kids, making them a close family. He had one vice. He would go to the racetrack and often spent all of his paycheck at card tables. He freely gave money to friends in need. Moe and Larry were such close friends, he allowed Moe to start controlling his finances. Moe was afraid that Larry would end up broke, so he would give him enough money for his family and invested the rest. When Larry passed away in 1975, he was estimated to have $500,000. Larry and Mabel were married for 41 years, with her death from a heart attack in 1967. He was on the road about to take the stage when he found out about his wife. Moe's brother Curly Howard wasn't as fortunate with his wives as his brothers. Curly was married 4 times. In 1930, he married Julia Rosenthal for 1 year. In 1937, he married Elaine Ackerman. They had 1 daughter, Marilyn. Curly and Elaine divorced in 1940. In 1945, Curly married Miriam Buxbaum while working on the East Coast after a 2-week courtship. During his marriage to Miriam Buxbaum, at Moe's insistence, Curly visited the Cottage Hospital in Santa Barbara. He was diagnosed with extreme hypertension, renal hemorrhage, and obesity. This explains his ragged appearances in 1946 shorts. Half-Wit's Holiday was Curly's final appearance as a member of the Three Stooges. On May 6, 1946, he suffered a severe stroke while sitting in the director's chair in Julius White, waiting for the last scene of the day. While still suffering from strokes, Curly made a cameo appearance as a snoring train passenger in Hold That Line, only time all 4 brothers appeared together. Shemp had a problem working with the line. so they placed a glass between the Stooges and the line. In 1948, Curly and Marion divorced after he was unable to perform anymore with the Stooges. His last and final marriage was to Valerie Newman from 1947 until his death at the age of 48. Valerie and Curly had a daughter named Janie. Moe had a knack of bending his hand back before he slapped, causing less pain and striking with only his fingers. Also, when he would stick his fingers in Curly's eyes, he was actually striking his forehead above the eyes. He only missed one time when Curly raised his head as Moe was striking. He was unable to see for 3 days.
Mo! I can't see! I can't see!
What's the matter?
I got my eyes closed.
Although most of the time their props like hammers, saws, and crowbars were made of rubber. It was accidents with props and falls that would send him to the hospital. Moe broke 3 ribs when a door frame fell on him in Pardon My Scotch, and Curly took a vicious lick to the head in 3 dumb clucks when a henchman throwed him down a shaft, striking his head on a real 2x4. The studio doctor sewed up the severe gash, and Curly continued working. After Curly became disabled, Moe persuaded Shemp to return to the Stooges. Shemp disliked working for director Julius Weiss, but continued performing because of Moe and Larry. In 1925, Shemp married Gertrude Frank, nicknamed Babe. They remained married until his death. They had 1 daughter, Morton. 3 years after Curly died, Shemp will pass away from a severe heart attack in November of 1955 during a taxi ride with a friend on their way home from a boxing match. He was 60 years old. To replace Shemp, Columbia Pictures demanded that Moe accept contract player Joe Besser. Joe's contract stated that he was not to be slapped or punched. Now, this took the energy out of the skits. After 1 year, Besser left when Columbia canceled the Stooges. Larry and Moe was now free to pick their own stooge. They chose Joe DeRitter. Joe shaved his head to look like Curly, so they called him Curly Joe. The 3 Stooges now consisted of Moe Howard, Larry Fine, and Curly Joe. During the 60s, the Stooges became more popular than ever due to Scream Gems syndicating the shorts to television. In January 1970, while filming a pilot for a TV series, Larry Fine had a debilitating stroke and was unable to work. He was unable to speak his lines. Larry Fine was moved to a retirement home in Hollywood. Without Larry, Moe's wife persuaded him to retire. In January of 1975, actor Larry Fine passed away from a particularly hard stroke. He was 72 years old. 4 months after his friend Larry Fine died, Moe Howard would pass away from lung cancer on May the 4th, 1975, at the age of 77.